In 24 hours, Putin and China will change everything. Yes, tomorrow, a BRICS lightning bolt will shock the Western hegemony that's been ruling the world for decades. The Western media is totally ignoring the story, by the way, because they don't want to admit what's about to happen. Goldman Sachs, though, understands it, and they believe that by the year 2050, the BRICS nations will dominate the global economy. So on Tuesday, yes, tomorrow, the BRICS summit officially kicks off in South Africa. This is the first face-to-face BRICS summit since the start of COVID, and we are about to witness a rebalancing of the world order. The agenda items at this summit are massive. The currency, yes, a new currency, trade, military cooperation, AI, microchips, oil, all of it, infrastructure, rail lines, shipping. This is a big, big deal. And the United States, I guess, didn't get an invitation. The British didn't get an invitation. Germany isn't welcome. Is the game over for the Western hegemony? Well, the writing is on the wall. Now, the top of the agenda is the United States dollar, squarely in the crosshairs. Here's how Foreign Policy magazine headlines this moment. A BRICS currency could shake the dollar's dominance. The de-dollarization moment might finally be here. Really? Is it true? After all, talk of getting rid of the US dollar as a reserve currency goes back to the 1960s. Here's the New York Times. In 1968, talking about France trying to separate itself from the US dollar. Yes, French President Charles de Gaulle versus Lyndon Johnson. That's how old this is. That's how far back this goes. This isn't new at all. But now we are at a tipping point. A gold-backed currency that stands as the backbone of a new BRICS currency is being rolled out in earnest. Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa, trading oil, computer chips, minerals, and settling those transactions in a reserve currency that has nothing to do with the US dollar. Just look at the trade between the BRICS nations. There's a massive financial surplus. Brazil just hit a record trade surplus. So why would they want to settle these transactions with US dollars? Doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, Europe's trade deficit has hit a new record, nearly $500 billion trade deficit. Which side would you rather be on? Of course, this isn't happening overnight, and there are big impediments to a BRICS currency. The biggest issue right now is that if Russia wants to import things from other countries that are not named China, they'll likely have to settle it in US dollars if they want to import those items. But what if more countries want to join BRICS and ditch the US dollar? Then there's safety in numbers, and the number of people you're doing imports from are part of your BRICS conglomerate. In fact, other countries are noticing and beginning to join. At this summit, Russia and China are expected to approve the new applications of a bunch of new countries into BRICS. Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, just to name a few. They've all submitted requests for membership to be a part of BRICS. And the Turkish government has expressed an interest in joining the group. Those are just a few of the names. But wrap your heads around this one. More than 40 other countries are now vying to join BRICS. 40.
So let's get the first one out of the way. So what do you feel are some of the biggest challenges facing the US right now? And how do you see those challenges developing?
The biggest challenge, I think, is the lack of education and understanding of where we are, both politically and financially, and especially geopolitically. The craziness, pride comes before a fall. And we have become very prideful as a country. We have become the police of the world. But over the years, after we took over the reserve currency from Great Britain, we squandered that responsibility away. And we got very powerful, very strong-willed and strong-minded. And now those strong minds are turning to weak minds. Because the lack of knowledge and information. So that's really what it is. I think people have no idea our economy is collapsing fast. Most people don't know what the BRICS are other than a building material. That's it.
Yeah. And do you feel as though how much do you feel the education system is involved in the way people's mindset is changing as well?
100%. The education system is 100% at fault, but you have to understand the people that run the education system want good little workers. They actually want slaves.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and they want little workers making them money and working for them. And there are very few people that understand how to lead a company, let alone lead an organization. The heart of the matter is at the education system.
Yeah, I agree, because what do? You take children and you put them on the right path.
Yep.
and those children will walk the right path. You start putting children onto new paths, and you start to see a lot of challenges in the world.
In America, we have a few hundred genders. How many genders do you guys have in Russia? Just very, I know you're a math guy, that's why I'm asking. I think maybe there's a...
Like... Here is like, I see only women and men. There is no between.
Got it.
It's crazy. It's like, first time in my life, couple weeks ago, and I was in California, I was like on coffee shop. It's like, I really want to go bathroom. It's like, can I go bathroom? Okay, they told me code, and I'm coming like, 2 bedroom, all gender. It's like, what is this? Where I have to go? First time I see it, like, I stopped, like, I stayed like 5 seconds there, like, where's woman, where's man? I locked the door. Anybody inside? It's like, okay. It's like, I don't know, but I grew up in very traditional place, with very traditional family. I'm very happy with this. Like, I'm from big mountains, and we have only 2 gender.
Well, you know, listen. That's in the mountains. But when you live in cities in America, there's like 40, 50 genders. Because here, math is like very important to them. So they kind of want to mess with it.
Like, I have to be careful?
You have to be careful here. You have to be careful here.
Now let me tell you about a heist engulfed in irony. Our next story is about the British Museum. It's a grand institution, also a shining symbol of wide-ranging thefts. We say this because the world's greatest thief is now being looted. Let me explain how. From the 16th to the 20th century, the British went on a colonization spree. They ravaged nation after nation and stole their culture. They looted close to 8 million artifacts. The list included India's Kohinoor diamond, Nigeria's bronze plaques, and decapitated dried Maori heads. All of this is displayed at the British Museum. They've been urged to return what they stole. Of course they haven't, and they don't plan to. The British Museum has locked up the legacy of other lands, and poorly so. Recently, a staff member was accused of stealing from it. The lost items included gold jewelry and gems dating from the 15th to the 19th century. In 2004, 15 pieces of Chinese jewelry were stolen from the museum. In 2002, a 2,500-year-old Greek marble head was taken. Also, this is not unique to the British Museum. Artifact thefts are very common, apparently. Last year, thieves stole 500 ancient gold coins from a German museum. In 2019, jewels worth $108 million were stolen from another German museum. Experts say this happens nearly every day across the world. According to the latest Art Loss Register, 700,000 antiques and collectibles are currently lost or stolen, 7 lakh pieces. Countries like Greece, India, Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Ghana say these artifacts are theirs. They should be returned, and they're right. But do you know the museum's response? They say these countries lack the infrastructure to protect such expensive historic items. By the looks of it, the British Museum is not doing a great job either. In fact, it reeks of entitlement. But wait till you hear the second excuse. The museum refuses to agree that most of its keep is stolen. The argument is stealing is not really stealing if you're taking something that's lying around. Finders keepers. Such interesting logic. For decades, England has gotten away with it and raked in tourism revenue. The museum's trustees are comfortable and in no mood to return what's not theirs. But what about their government? Experts say most disputed artifacts will have to be returned if the government really chooses to. The US, Germany, Belgium, France, they're all doing it. They're returning the loot. But England remains bullheaded.